Hello and welcome to this video on paper 1, OCRB, History, Modern World, and once again we're focusing on the road to World War II. Now if you think back to a few videos before when we looked at Scram Cup, the U in Scram Cup stood for USSR Nazi Pact, okay? Now in this video I've written it as Nazi-Soviet Pact because I feel like it's a bit easier to write than USSR Nazi Pact. Nazi-Soviet Pact seems to have a bit of ring to it, but I used USSR Nazi Pact to fit in with Scram Cup. Now, we've got to look in depth at this pact because it is a massive short-term cause of World War II. And as I've written at the top here, it happened on the 23rd of August 1939, and the world was shocked when, out of nowhere, and I kind of, state that enough, suddenly Russia and Germany signed a non-aggression pact, which means that they would not attack each other, with the aim really that it was obvious that Hitler was going to invade Poland. And remember, Russia and Germany are either side of Poland. Poland's right in the middle. Now people also were unaware and would have probably been even more shocked if they'd known that the two countries had actually even secretly agreed to invade and divide Poland between them. So the plan was that they wouldn't attack each other, but when Germany invaded Poland, Russia would invade the other side, and basically they'd split it between themselves. Now the reason this was such a shock is because Nazi Germany, and Hitler in particular, had constantly talked about destroying communist Russia. So we have to really be thinking, why did Stalin, an outright enemy of Adolf Hitler, sign this non-aggression pact with Hitler? And as you can see, this is the man of the moment that we're focusing on, Joseph Stalin, who was leader of communist Russia, and he'd been leader by 1939 for about 15 years. And now he had two choices. It was pretty obvious that war was coming as soon as Hitler invaded Czechoslovakia, and it seemed like Hitler was going to move east. Now, there were two things that Stalin could do, and for this video I want you to keep putting yourself in Stalin's shoes. He could either sign a pact with Britain, and therefore their allies, which would be like France, or he could sign a pact with Germany. And what we're going to do is going to go through the two different viewpoints and who we should sign with, and then I want you to think for yourself, did you think if you were Stalin, would you have made that decision as well? But also thinking, well, had Britain and France not done enough by this point and could have done a lot more to avoid war coming? That's one of the themes. We have to stress, yes, I feel like, in my opinion, I feel like Hitler was always looking to bring a war onto Europe, and it was inevitable if he was going to invade the East. But could it have been avoided? And one of the ways it could have been avoided, perhaps, is if Britain and Russia had signed a non-aggression pact. Had signed a agreement between themselves to work with each other if Hitler invaded Poland. So we'll look at sign a pact with Britain first, and the way to remember this is the word scab, which I've just circled in black. And scab stands for suspicion, choice, appeasement, and Britain delayed. Now, as we're now aware, Britain and Russia did not sign an alliance pact between themselves, and these are the reasons why. Now, as I said in previous videos, no European country trusted Russia, and vice versa, Russia trusted nobody. Communist Russia was seen as evil and was a threat to democratic countries in Europe. Now the choice was as well, if he did sign an alliance with Britain, Britain probably could actually not send troops to Poland even if Germany invaded. Remember, they were underarmed, they weren't as strong as Germany. It's a long way to come as well, and really he felt that Britain would just leave Russia to the fighting. They'd say they were allied with him, but would leave Russia to the fighting in Poland. Stalin was, so we're focusing on A now, was not convinced Britain would ever support Poland like it had with Czechoslovakia through the use of appeasement. So he felt like, yeah, they'd said nice things about Poland, but would they actually keep to their word? Because they said they'd keep to their word with Czechoslovakia. Now the last one is Britain delayed, and this is a big one. I think Britain did have the opportunity to sign an agreement with Stalin, but unfortunately, like I said, no one trusted Russia, and when it came to actually sending a delegate over to Russia to sort some kind of agreement out, British officials just dragged their feet. They ummed and ahed. They sent someone over by slow boat to try and find an agreement. It took him forever to get there, and then when he actually got there and they discussed, it's like, well, I've got to go back home and I've got to discuss things with the Prime Minister. You know, if Britain perhaps had been a bit more decisive and just decided, look, we're going to sign this agreement, history could have been a hell of a lot different. So we looked at the reasons why he didn't sign with Britain. Now we need to be thinking, well, why did he sign with his mortal enemy, Adolf Hitler? And the way to remember that is the word thug. Okay, and thug stands for time, hope to gain, unhappy with Britain and Germany, or just time, hope, unhappy, Germany. And looking at the first one, if you're leader of Russia, you've got to think, right, if Germany is saying they're going to invade Poland, that means that ultimately I'm probably going to be next. But if I sign a non-aggression pact, then I've got time to prepare for war. And as Stalin himself said in this quote here, we have peace for 18 months, let's rearm quickly. So Stalin saw it as an opportunity to start rearming, and Russia did massively start rearming after Germany signed this pact with them. Second reason is they had a hope to gain. Remember, Russia were being offered by Germany a lot of land, but also if Britain, France and Germany went to war, they'd exhaust themselves. And then Russia could only gain from a long war. If Britain, France and Germany were exhausted, then Russia could only take advantage shortly. Thirdly, unhappy with Britain. Like I said, Britain had dawdled, while Hitler had actually come to him in secret and said, look, I'm offering you peace here, what would you choose? And fourthly, Germany, the G for Germany. Germany actually promised to give Stalin half of Poland. As soon as he invaded, he's like, look, we'll split it between ourselves, easy peasy. Now, like I said, the Nazi-Soviet Pact is a short-term cause of World War II. As soon as it was announced that it was signed, it was pretty obvious war was going to happen because Hitler could easily invade Poland and Russia wouldn't attack back. It forced also Britain to keep up their word of promising to help Poland if they were invaded, which they had done after Czechoslovakia had been invaded. They'd said, like, well, they hadn't done anything formally, but this did prompt them to say, well, you know what, we're going to have to follow through.